It's 11 p.m. on a January night in Nebraska. The temperature outside is 20 degrees and dropping. You've just shut down your rig at a truck stop, turned off the engine, pulled the curtain across the windshield, and stretched out inside a sleeper berth the size of a walk-in closet. The whole time, there's a piece of paper in your jacket pocket that says a hotel room. A mile down the road is already paid for. A real bed, 4 walls, a bathroom. You don't have to walk across a frozen parking lot to reach. And you're sleeping in the truck anyway. To anyone on the outside, that looks like a tough guy choice. The lone driver, whose life is the road. That guess makes sense for about 10 seconds. But the real reason you're in that berth instead of a hotel is a math problem. And the only number that matters is a clock the federal government welded to your dashboard. That same clock is the reason your dinner tonight wasn't really a menu decision. It was a countdown. Over the next few minutes, we're going to trace that clock from a 30-minute break to a quiet kitchen that beats it. Then we'll see a tax break and a health number that show why that kitchen had to exist. Let's get into it. That clock is the Hours of Service Rule, or HOS, the federal law that governs how long a driver can be on duty and when he must rest. The clock doesn't care if a hotel is more comfortable. It only cares when you stop the truck and when you're allowed to move it again. Walk through a real night. You pull into a truck stop at 10:45 p.m. Your 14-hour on-duty window is closing fast. If you drive off route to a hotel, park a rig that takes up half the lot, check in, shower, and fall asleep, you haven't started your mandatory 10-hour reset. You've started a multi-stop errand that will push tomorrow's start line 45 minutes later. The next morning, you'd arrive right at rush hour. You'd be staring at a clock that's counting down fast. And there's the receiver, the person who accepts your delivery, who doesn't care about your sleep. But if you shut down right there in the truck stop lot, your 10-hour clock starts instantly. The math for tomorrow is simple. That's not a sleep decision. That decision is about your delivery schedule and your driving time. And it's the first half of the eating equation. The clock picks the location, and the location limits the menu to whatever is inside that truck stop or already inside the cab. Now, the 10-hour clock explains where you sleep, but the same set of rules has a second, tighter demand that controls your dinner. It's the mandatory 30-minute break that starts after 8 hours behind the wheel. On paper, that's your meal stop. In practice, it's a single ticking window. You also have to fuel the rig, use the restroom, check your tires, and maybe take a call from dispatch, all in a parking lot. And your only legal restaurant is whatever the truck stop you landed at happens to sell. Watch the dash clock count down from 30 minutes. The first 5 are spent pulling into a spot and filling in your log, the required record of driving hours. The next 10 are the fuel pump and a quick walk around to make sure nothing's loose. You've got about 15 minutes left to use the bathroom. Grab something you can eat one-handed inside a cab, and be back in the driver's seat with your paperwork straight. A roller grill hot dog wrapped in foils isn't necessarily what you wanted for lunch, but it's what the compressed math makes possible. The menu board doesn't matter. You don't have time to read it. So the HOS break doesn't just limit when a driver eats. Inside that tiny window, it limits what he can physically get. And for years, that math fed a fast food stereotype that was mostly just a clock with a shiny wrapper. Here's where the quiet, brilliant workaround begins. A rig can't pull a drive-through for dinner if the law says it has to be parked, but drivers didn't accept the roller grill as their only destiny. The counter move was to build a real kitchen inside the cab. Carissa Johnson drives as a 2-person team with her husband, taking turns in the same truck. She's a well-known face in the whole subculture of drivers who cook on the road, and she once won half a hog in a trucking recipe contest for her pork chops. Her kitchen fits in an 8-foot box. It's a small electric grill, an electric frying pan, a coffee maker, and a crock pot, all running off the truck's power through an inverter, a device that changes the truck's power to household-type electricity. The crock pot is the hero appliance. You can start chili or a pork loin at your first stop of the day. By the time the mid-route 30-minute break hits, dinner is hot, it's real food, and you didn't need any extra time beyond the break. Her own advice, straight from an interview with Landline Media, a trucking news publication. If they can just have a slow cooker, which is another name for the crock pot, they can make just about anything. And because you're sleeping in that cab too, she'll tell you about managing the smell. Window screens, a small fan, so the whole rig doesn't smell like last night's dinner. A whole market of 12-volt appliances, names like Road Pro, exists because thousands of drivers wanted their own kitchen. During a 30-minute break, a driver can park the truck, lift a taped-down crock pot lid, and sit down to a meal that tastes like it took an afternoon at home. The break goes from a frantic calorie hunt to a genuine dinner break. The clock is still ticking, but you beat it by preparing the meal hours before the clock even started. But the whole reason that kitchen matters more than a convenience is a number from a federal study that's hard to shake. Before that number, there's a strange detail in the tax code that proves the government has been watching this problem for years and has already admitted it's real. Every other business traveler in America deducts 50% of their meals when they file taxes. Salesmen, consultants, the whole lot. But if you flip open IRS publication 463, you'll find a separate line for workers covered by Department of Transportation hours of service rules, which means long-haul truck drivers. Under that exception, you get to deduct 80% of your meal costs. The government doesn't hand out a 30-point advantage to anyone. It does it for you because your eating schedule is legally regulated down to the hour. That tax break is a quiet, official admission that says a trucker's mealtime is broken in a way nobody else's is. Hold on to that. The tax code knew this problem was coming, but the real cost didn't just show up in an accountant's office, it showed up in a warehouse of medical data. The National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, a federal research body, surveyed long-haul drivers and published the kind of shocking numbers. 69% of truckers in that study were obese, that is, very overweight, more than double the general working population, which sits at around 31%. 51% smoked, compared to 19% nationally, and 61% of drivers had 2 or more major health risk factors. Those numbers come from measured weights, blood pressures, and questionnaire answers. The St. Christopher Fund is a non-profit that helps drivers in medical crisis. They report that nearly 70% of the drivers they assist today are struggling with serious health issues. The numbers match. No shame in it that 69% is the natural result of a job where your dinner hour is a ticking federal clock and your gym is an 8-foot sleeper berth. And that number is heavy, but it's exactly why the quiet kitchen in the cab matters so much. Since we're talking about that kitchen, here's a question for you. What's the one appliance in your cab you wouldn't trade for anything? And what's the meal you've made in it that no truck stop kitchen in America can match? Drop it in the comments. That's how we'll know who actually made it this deep into the video. And if you've ever smelled chili cooking in your bunk while parked at a rest area, you already know the kind of stories this channel is built on. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next one. Now, the industry saw those health numbers too, and it started making moves you can see on a shelf. Truck stop chains had to evolve past the candy aisle. Walk into a Love's truck stop today, and you'll spot a fresh kitchen counter that wasn't there a decade ago. Made daily tacos, sandwiches on whole wheat, cups of fresh fruit. It's a direct business answer to a driver base that demanded better food. And it's working. Behind the counters, the trucking industry built its own health infrastructure. The Truckload Carriers Association runs a wellness program powered by a company called Rolling Strong. For about $2 per driver per month, a fleet can plug its people into health coaching, exercise plans designed for a cab, and physical check stations at major truck stops. The St. Christopher Fund offers named 12-week programs, healthy habits for the long haul, rigs without cigs to quit smoking, and get preventative screenings to catch problems before they catch you. Those are real things a driver can sign up for tomorrow. The road recognized the problem it created, and the best truck stop food is better than it's ever been. If you need help, the program has a name and a phone number. Now, a fair word, talking about a crock pot in the cab makes a great story, and it's a real one. But it would be wrong to pretend every driver out here can make it work. Cooking in the rig takes power, which means a decent inverter. It takes space. And if you're running team with 2 bunks occupied, there's no floor room for a slow cooker. It takes time to shop and a schedule that lets you hit a grocery store and restock a cooler. Plenty of drivers are on tight round-trip loops with no home terminal, a company's base yard, to reload. For them, the 30-minute math from earlier, the countdown, the roller grill, the foil-wrapped hot dog, is still their dinner every night. The in-cab kitchen is one of the best things a driver has ever figured out. It's also a privilege of space, power, and planning that not every run can afford. And I stand by that. We open this story with a driver in his cab choosing it over a paid hotel because a federal clock had already picked his stop. We traced that clock from a 10-hour reset through a 30-minute break. Then we saw a tax code that admits the mess is real, a health number that measures the cost, and a crock pot that beats it. The road didn't take away a driver's kitchen, it just moved it into an 8-foot box, put a federal clock on when he's allowed to use it, and dared him to figure it out anyway. Every driver who has figured it out, wired up an inverter, taped a crock pot lid down, and sat down to a hot meal at a rest area with his feet up on the dash, has earned something special. That's a dinner most people at a kitchen table will never fully appreciate. So here's where you come in. What's actually in your cab fridge or cooler right now? And if you've got one of those slow cookers or hot plates strapped down back there, what's the one thing you make more than anything else? Drop it in the comments. We read every single one, and the best answers will be the map for another video. If a story about a crock pot making better pork chops than a truck stop diner kept you here this long, you should hit subscribe. That way you won't miss the next one. And at the rate you send in your recipes, it might just be a cookbook. Until next time, keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up, which means stay safe out there.